Hello and welcome to another episode of the Orient Addicts podcast. My guest now is an Orient fan, Grant. Hello, how are you?
Good, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm actually great, thank you. First thing I really want to know is how did you become an Orient supporter?
Oh, um, my grandfather was an Orient fan. My dad, God rest his soul, was Spurs, but he liked Orient as well. And I used to go to Spurs with my dad and also go to watch Orient from time to time. And around about in my mid-teens, which was a long time ago, I'm not even going to say how long ago that was, the bug got me. I think I finally got bitten by the Orient when we beat West Brom at home in the FA Cup 2-1 after being 1-0 down. I think it was in 1985 or something like that. And after that, I got the bug. And I've been long suffering since. And I mean long suffering. Apart from the last year or two, which has been really good. But other than that, most of the time it's been pretty diabolical. But unfortunately, when it's in your blood, then it's in your blood and that's it.
I mean, obviously, you touched on the last 1 or 2 years not being diabolical. What have you thought about that period?
Sometimes I have to pinch myself as to how good it's been. But really, it's been an upward trajectory since the new owners come in and replace he who should not be named. I think that's really been the case since then. They came in when we were in desperate straits. When the club was nearly going out of business at that time. We had nothing, and since then, the ship has been steadied, and now it's sailing at full blast towards hopefully further success. They're doing all right in League One, aren't they? For the beginning, I mean, we're not doing too bad considering the injuries and the illnesses and the run of fixtures that we've had. I'm pretty happy so far with this season, and I think a mid-table finish is looking probably where I think we're going to be this year, and I'm more than happy with that, considering that I was concerned that we're going to be relegated out of the National League at one point.
I mean, obviously, yeah, there was a point in time where thought we could just go on an never-ending downward spiral. But you obviously touched on this season. How do you think that's gone?
Uh, I think that I set a target, personal target of 11 or 12 points from the first 10 games when I looked at the fixture list, and we're pretty much on target for that. I think we're starting to settle in now to the pace of the game as to what's required by us to try and get results. And that was epitomised on Saturday because I thought that for large parts of the game, as was going to be the case from time to time now, Peterborough were dominant, but we managed to hold on and we managed to get a result. I think the squad strength is starting to show now with the likes of Jaden Sweeney and Dan Happy, not figuring on Saturday with competition for places. And I can only see us continuing, to improve on our results, which we have done over the last few games. Apart from the Stevenage blip, we know other than that, we're 3 games out of 4 unbeaten. So it's not too bad. And I can see, hopefully that's going to continue, going into the autumn now. I see us, as I say, around about mid-table by Christmas, and I'll take that right now if someone offered it to me.
I mean, obviously, the season picked up a lot after the first few games, which were quite rocky. Although, what did you think of pre-season and the summer and transfers and things like that?
Um, I was a bit concerned by the fact that when we were promoted out of the National League, we were very faithful to a lot of the players that we had at the time when we went into League Two, and some of them proved that they really weren't quite up to the job. And I was worried that we were sort of in the same mode because we have retained a lot of the players that we had last season out of loyalty, and I don't have a problem with that. But I think that some of the later signings, the likes of Jordan Graham, etc., that are coming very late on in the window, perhaps are not even at 100% yet, have made a little bit of a difference. So I think the balance of the squad is good. Where we are now, I don't think we really need any more additions. I don't think that the budget will probably stretch to that, to be honest. And why should it? I think our squad is pretty much a mid-table squad. I think our midfield is very, very strong. I think that's the strongest part of the squad as such. Although Hector Cipriano, our former Orient player, ran the midfield on Saturday, I felt, for Peterborough, and was very impressive. But other than that, I think our midfield have been, going to be the strong part. I think up front, I think that again we're without a natural goal scorer as such. With Smith being our goals, he was our top goal scorer last season, was he? I think he had 9 or 10 goals, and I can see the same happening with players chipping in with the odd goal here and there. And so then it takes it back to the defence and the fact that we're going to need to be tight at the back because I don't think we're going to score that many. But equally, if we can start to pick up the clean sheets again, then I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, obviously, defence was an issue in the early parts of the season with Solbrin's injuries and just not looking defensively that good, conceding a lot of goals, especially in those games against Wickham and the 4-0 defeat in our first ever home game in like 6 years in League One.
Yeah, I think that Omar was struggling a little bit for form at the beginning of this season, although hats off to him because he was left out of the team and he's come back in and he's starting to look like he's adapting well. He got his goal on Saturday and hopefully that's going to help him to kick on now. He's got a bit of competition for places. I'm happy now with the centre backs that we have, and we still have Adam Thompson out unavailable. Well, I'm not really sure whether he'll feature again for the Orient, unfortunately, but we'll see how that goes. So defensively, we are looking stronger. I felt in the Wickham game we played really well in patches. I really enjoyed that. But again, we just conceded a couple of really soft goals that cost us possibly getting a draw or a victory in that game. So the signs were there, even though we conceded 3 that night, that the team itself, the way we were able to play, was starting to come through. And that's, beginning to show now. I think that I'm not too concerned. Things can turn again suddenly against us and we mustn't be complacent. But I'm pretty hopeful now that the season's going to pan out and we're going to do all right this season. I'd love to see us have a cup run. We've not had an FA Cup run. You're younger than me, Jack. But the FA Cup means to us older ones a bit more than sometimes the younger ones, I think, the younger supporters. We haven't had a cup run for a long time, and I've sometimes been disappointed with our approach to that, as if it's not insignificant. But I think this year, by the time we play in the FA Cup first round, if we're well established in League One, I'd like to see us have a real go at that and maybe get through to sort of more towards the latter stages, as well as maybe a mid-table finish. That would do me for this season.
I mean, obviously, at the time of recording, we've got a cup game tonight. Obviously, it's not the sort of cup you'd want to do that well in. Obviously, it's considered by many a Mickey Mouse Cup, but we do have a cup game tonight. Yeah,
we do. We've got a cup game tonight. I won't be there. It's not a priority for me, but I think it's come at a very good time because there are players that are not getting much game time, and they're going to be able to do that this evening. The likes of Drinan, who's come back into the squad and got a few minutes on Saturday, I imagine he'll start tonight. I imagine Jaden Sweeney will play this evening, and Dan Happy, and maybe our who's the goalkeeper, the backup goalkeeper. I'm sorry, I
Sam
forgot.
Howes.
Yeah, Jack Howell. I think you might see him play, etc., etc. I think I fancy us to do well tonight. I'm not bothered about how we do. I'm more bothered about us getting the minutes in our legs and not getting any injuries. Because as I say, I'm not really a massive fan of the competition. I think it's a load of rubbish. But there we are. I mean, it's still first team football as such, and a chance for them to have some minutes in their legs to get ready for Saturday when we've got, for me, a far more important game with Shrewsbury at home.
Yeah, obviously, it is good for players to get minutes, and I think that's also the reason that they included Premier League under-21 teams, which includes the team we'll be playing, which is Fulham under-21s.
Yeah, I don't know much about the youth setup, but I like Fulham as a club. One of my more favourite London teams. I'd always like to see them do well. But let's hope that we can turn them over tonight. And because we lost the first game in this competition, didn't we? When we had 2 players sent off at Gillingham. So let's hope that we can start, because it goes to penalties with a draw as well, doesn't it? Which is quite ridiculous. But there we are. We'll see how we get on. I won't be there, but I wish them all the best.
Yeah, obviously. We were talking about issues earlier. I'd like to touch a bit back on that. Another major issue that fans have said they don't like and obviously may have affected us is disciplinary. You obviously touched on it about we got 2 red cards against Gillingham. What do you think is causing this amount of disciplinary issues?
Well, to be honest, I think Theo's got he gets his customary yellow card every game, doesn't he? But other than that, now that Dan Happy's back in the squad, thankfully we've got pretty much the full squad available, apart from Dan Aggie, our new signing, and Adam Thompson. The coaches getting cards, etc., doesn't really bother me. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of difference. I think there are some restrictions if they get red cards and they're not allowed to be on the bench, like when Richie's not on the bench, but he can still communicate what he needs to do. And that seems to be the major part of the disciplinary problems that we're having. I don't think we're getting any more yellow or red cards than anyone else. And thankfully, with the Mickey Mouse Cup, the red cards in that only count in that competition. So that hasn't really cost us. So you'll find that the 2 players that were sent off won't be playing this evening. They won't be allowed. But that's not really a problem, is it? Because, as I say, we've got a lot of players that need minutes. So, and most other clubs have got a similar amount of cards as us. So I don't really see it as too much of a problem. It's just part of the new thing that the FA have told the referees to do. Apparently, one of the yellow cards on Saturday was because we had 3 coaches standing at once, which isn't permitted. And I referee at semi-pro level, and we're not allowed any. We don't allow any more than 2 standing. But I don't go over and caution when they have a three standing. I just report it at the end of the game. But obviously, the league are trying to clamp down on it. So, as I say, I'm not too concerned about it. I'd be more concerned if we were picking up a lot of red cards player-wise and losing players for being unavailable in league games. But at the moment, that's not the case.
Yeah, obviously, it's reasonable to put it down to stricter refereeing because there's been a lot of new changes for this season. But let's talk more about the main event, Saturday's game. Were you there?
I was there. I was at the game. Thoroughly enjoyed it in the sunshine. As I say, I felt that overall, come the end of the game, we were just about worth our draw that we got. But from the first half, there were significant periods in the first half when down our left flank and their right, they were cutting us open. But thankfully, we never conceded that way. But we conceded was pretty horrible, really. It was pretty ugly. Dolbrין, I'm afraid, I put him a little bit of fault. I thought that he should have got some further distance on his punch or whatever he tried to do when he came for the cross as it came in the 6-yard box. Yeah, unfortunately he didn't, and then we ended up with conceding a really scrappy goal. But we fought back well, and we deserved our equaliser. No one could decide who scored it until about another half an hour later. But we didn't really care. 2 players went up and they headed the ball in. We didn't really care who it was. And then the second half, once we changed formation to match up with them, I felt that we started to dictate and become more dominant within the game, and we could have actually nicked another goal towards the end, although I think that would have flattered us. But overall, I was really happy to come away with a point from a team that's pretty much a yo-yo club between Championship and League One. A bigger club than us, to be fair. Happy with that. It was a reasonably good performance, where although we were dominated in parts, as I'm afraid we're going to have to expect this season from time to time, compared to last season when we just hogged the ball from one game to the next, because we were superior to most of the other teams.
Yeah, obviously, you say they are a bigger club there. They achieve more. They are a bit of a yo-yo club between the Championship and League One. But with a bigger club, you'd expect a bit of a better fan base. But on the day, we had much better fans, at least in my opinion.
Well, when you're sitting in with you only hear yourselves. I could hear them at the other end. They've changed the ground. The last time I was there back in 2014 when we played in the playoffs, in the League One playoffs, Jack, when we got through to Wembley and we missed out. We won't talk about that too much. We were over behind where the dugouts were, and the atmosphere in there was electric and the view was better. So I was a bit disappointed to be stuck behind the goal. I prefer to be on the side. But I felt that we made some good noise on Saturday. 1,200 is not bad following, I don't think, although it's not the longest journey in the world. Um, but Peterborough's quite a nice, friendly club. And to be fair, when we're at Brisbane Road, who makes the most noise? It's generally the away fans, isn't it? So it's just it comes with the territory. But it was quite a good atmosphere. I quite enjoyed it on Saturday. I don't know what the gate was. I don't think it was as high as what I thought it might be. But maybe because they've been on a bad run, maybe they decided an Orient's not a particularly attractive proposition. Perhaps I don't know, but our following was good. Got behind the team. That's all we can ask.
Yeah, I thought the atmosphere from our fans was very good. Obviously, a lot of chants and constant singing. But you mentioned the match. Who would be your man of the match? Who do you think was our best player?
For the O's, I'd probably go with Elmis or Jordan Graham. I think Jordan Graham's starting to come into his own now. Now he's played a few games. His crossing's really good. He's very solid. His position, he's very astute. He knows where to be at the right time. So yeah, he's starting to impress me now, and it's becoming. I think it's going to become one of our most significant signings. Elmis wasn't matched up directly with Hector Cucurano. He wasn't against him as such in the midfield, and that would have been an interesting matchup. But again, he was all over the place, as he always is. He's a very, very important player for us, and probably our best signing over the summer when he re-signed.
Yeah, obviously, Jordan Graham providing that vital experience along with Darren Pratley and Elmis, that youthful midfield dominator. He's just everywhere at the moment, box to box, end to end. He's just everywhere. He's like a spider. He's got 8 legs.
He's vital because Pratley's not going to get around the pitch perhaps quite as much as he is, but he provides, he sits in his position and he conducts the orchestra, so to speak, from where he is. And he had a good game on Saturday, Pratley. He was where he needed to be at the right times, did the dirty stuff as it was needed, so that Elmis can then go and do his thing, so to speak. El Bazzouni can play literally any midfield position that's asked of him. He's got that versatility. And sometimes it's actually hard to work out exactly where he is playing, which is probably a credit to him. Yeah. Long may he stay fit and in the team, because with him in the team, we've always got a chance.
Yeah, obviously, I think he will be our best signing. Obviously, not on a permanent, only on a loan, which is quite a shame.
Well, we'll see what happens about that. But he seems to love the club, so who knows what will happen in the future. But we've got him for the whole season, which is really good. So it's more or less like a permanent signing, so to speak, in the modern day where players don't tend to stay at clubs very long anyway.
Yeah, obviously, still very, very young at 21. I don't think Ipswich will sell, though, sadly. I'd love them to. If the Ipswich owners are listening and the Ipswich managers are listening, we would love to have him, but I doubt they are.
Apparently, we bid for him, Jack, over the summer, but they weren't interested. But he asked to come back on loan. It was his decision. I think there were Charlton were in for him and one or two other big League One clubs. But I think he opted to come back to the Orient because I think he knows the club. He likes Richie Wellens. He knows he's going to play regularly. He's still playing at League One level. So all credit to him for wanting to do that.
Yeah, obviously, Martin Ling said that he did actually text him and say that he wanted to come back on loan.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise. I always held out hope, but a lot of people said no, he's not going to come back again. But I always held out. I just had a sneaking feeling, and I'm very grateful that he's back with us for the season.
Yeah, I was very surprised because there wasn't many rumours of it. I didn't hear any rumblings of the re-signing on loan. So I was quite shocked when it happened, but obviously happily shocked.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the club's quite good at keeping their cards close to their chest with signings that are going to come in. A lot of them do come in by surprise, and people think, "Oh, that come from nowhere." And long may that continue, because I think it can help the club with perhaps getting people under the radar rather than other clubs coming in and stealing them under our noses.
Yeah, it's a good thing, obviously, and also it's quite a nice surprise for the fans. You know, you don't expect one to happen, and then you bring in someone that could change your squad completely.
Yeah, that's great. I think we have the attraction in the fact that although we're not the biggest club in League One, we are now at that sort of the third tier, so to speak, which is more attractive than League Two. Um, and we're in London, and that's very attractive to a lot of players. They like to be in the London area because they're on show, so to speak. They can get scouts coming to watch them from higher levels, as well as if they're based in the area, it's better for them than moving out from home, etc. So Orient's got a lot of attractions that people sometimes forget about, and there's the fact that it's a very friendly club, very well run. The coaching staff are great, with good owners, and they've made to feel part of the club with the player meetings, etc. And all these things are contribute, I think, to us being able to sign some players that perhaps one wouldn't expect that we will be able to. And long may that continue.
Yeah, obviously, the club seems to be on a bit of an upward trajectory, which I don't want to jinx because it's a really good, and you know, players will want to go to clubs that are on upward trajectories and are moving forward.
We're on a steady trajectory rather than sort of trying to jump before we can walk, so to speak. And not, as I say, that's down to the ownership and the way that the club's being run now over the last few years. And as I say, we're very grateful for that. That stability is absolutely so important. When you don't have stability, if you look at Charlton, so to speak, with all their management changes and etc., the reason why they're struggling and they're not up the top of League One is because of the fact that the instability there from the outs, looking at from the outside. Whereas the stability we have has meant that is obviously harbours the success that we've had. Everyone's happy to, to be at the club. And there are no politics, etc., from what I can see from the outside. So hopefully that will continue. We retain our coaching staff, the owners continue to do what they're doing, and the players can do their job on the pitch and not worry about anything else.
Yeah, obviously, we've got a long season left. We've got a lot of games left. It's all hanging in the balance until the season is over. But who do you think will be our player of the season?
Jordan Graham, but that's a bit of a guess at the moment. We're still a bit too early to say. Um, I thought Jaden Sweeney might figure, but there's still time for him to do that. But at the moment, he's a little bit in and out of the team. But I thought he would follow on from his progress from last season. But it could be any of them. El Mazzuni, it could be. There's so many we don't know yet. It's too early to say. To be honest with you, if we've got a lot of candidates, that means that the cross squad is doing well, because you could have picked 4 or 5 last season to have won it, and no one would have objected.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good sign that there's a lot of shouts instead of like, oh, have to pick from a bad bunch.
Yeah, yeah. Let's hope that the squad continues to improve, to find their way in League One, and we continue to pull off results. Cause starting with Saturday, it's a very Shrewsbury are one place above us, I think, and they're quite a well-established League One club. They've been in there for quite some time, whereas we're not. But it's a game that we look at. It should be good if we can nick a win. If we can win on Saturday, that'll be a lovely platform going into heading towards October and the autumn period. So fingers crossed we'll play well on Saturday. We're a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. Our form sometimes is a little bit in and out, and some of the home games we have struggled. But against Cambridge we were excellent. So let's hope, and Exeter away. So let's hope that we can continue with that form on Saturday against Shrewsbury. But I'll take an ugly 1-0 if it's needed. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah, obviously it'd be very nice to win on Saturday, and it doesn't really matter how we win. Obviously, it's nice to win in a nice fashion, but as long as we win, I don't think we care all that much.
No, although we like to see the style to see us dominate the ball and pass through the thirds and play the way we were playing last season rather than playing more of a direct style, or maybe even mix it up. But as I say, we'll leave that in the capable hands of Richie and his coaching staff. I was quite impressed on Saturday about how many different formations were being used by both managers and how we matched up with them. And in the end, I think tactically we had the upper hand towards the end of the game, and Ferguson didn't have any answers to that. And that was the reason why the last 20 minutes or so, I think it was largely Orient that were in charge. So as I say, we've got a very good manager there that knows his stuff. So let's hope we can hold on to him and we can continue to progress under Richie.
Yeah, obviously you touched on progress there, and obviously you also talked about an upward trajectory, a steady one. So where do you think we'll be in 5 years? Honestly.
That's a really good question. To be honest with you, I don't really have. I don't. I'm not really sure. Being realistic. Listen, I've been an Orient fan for so long, and I've been let down by them so many times that it's hard to be too optimistic. But top half of League One, challenging for promotion in 5 years' time. If someone would have offered that to us 5, 6 years ago when we were struggling in the National League, we'd have bitten their hand off with the stability that comes with. I'd be interested to see what happens with the training ground, with the stadium, and whether it's updated or whether we move. There's a lot of it's exciting times ahead for Orient, and I'm interested to see how that all works out. You know, Nigel wants to leave us with a legacy of stability before he hands over to someone else. So let's hope that he's able to do that, because that to me is even more important than necessarily our league position. That the club is there and well established to go forward as time goes by, heading into the rest of the years to come.
Yeah, obviously stability is key because just a few years ago, not even that long ago. I mean, we nearly fell into administration. We nearly completely lost our club. We nearly became the next Bury.
We did, and that wasn't funny. Wasn't funny at all. I had misgivings within a month or two when Bichetti took over, and unfortunately, they were proven to be correct. But I don't really want to talk about that too much. Although I'm looking forward to hearing the next edition of the podcast talking about that area. I don't know whether you've heard about that or listened to it, Jack, but it's really good. I'm looking forward to hearing about the next year when they cover that again. Hopefully, we'll get that coming out in the next few weeks or months. But yeah, let's look forward, not back, and hope that the stability is going to remain as time goes by, and we're you never know, we could be in the championship in 5 years' time. But that's another step and a huge financial commitment as well. So we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, we can hope for Championship or even Premier League. Obviously, you hear the stories of Luton Town and teams like that.
It's fantastic that Luton have done what they've done. I think that they're going to struggle this season, but they can enjoy the ride. And they'll have the parachute payments for 2 years if they get relegated. So it's all good for them, and well done to them. I mean, really, they were in dire straits. I don't know whether you remember, Jack. They were getting points deductions more than anyone, and they went straight through the leagues, out of the league, and they've gone all the way back up to the top. So yes, it can be done.
Yeah, obviously it's a thing to look forward to, and we always want to look forward. And let's see how we get on with the rest of the season.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Starting with tonight, let's hope they can get a win tonight in the cup game. But I take a defeat tonight and a win on Saturday all day long. Sorry if those that want us to win tonight. I'm not saying I want us to lose, but that's where my priorities lie with the league. I want to see us up. Well, we've got 8 points up to 11 points after 9 games. That'll be excellent. That'll be a really good return considering we're new to the league. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, we have to have patience. You know, we can't have a game every day. We have to wait and see what happens. So obviously, it's been great to have you on. You've been a great guest. I'd love to have you on again.
Anytime.
Yeah. It's been great having you. And I'll see you in a bit.
Thanks a lot. Up the O's.
Up the O's.
Bye.
Bye bye.